Hello, so today I wanted to give my overview on my m62 that I've had now for a little over a year. This machine's worked out pretty good for the most part. There have been a few issues, nothing major, and most of it's operator error versus the actual machine itself. Overall, I've been pretty satisfied with the machine. It does really well. It is a little bit louder than I like. You always have to use ear protection, especially if you're using it for extended periods of time. And maneuverability with the backhoe kind of sucks compared to an excavator. So in that regard, it kind of sucks. But the front loader capacities are really great for a multi-purpose piece of equipment. I cannot complain too much about it. It's overall been a pretty good machine. However, if I had the extra forethought and money to break this up into a skid steer and a excavator, I would probably go that route. However, the one thing this is really good at is doing grading with the box blade and so forth. So that's the one thing that having a large tractor like this, you wouldn't be able to substitute with either an excavator or a skid steer. So in that regard, you know, it's kind of sucks because it's not really good at any one thing as well as another piece of equipment, but it's able to do a pretty decent job of keeping up. That said, some of the issues I've had so far, again, have been mainly issues that I've had. So you can see here on my turnbuckles for the 3-point, they're a little twisted. So one of the times that I was changing out between the backhoe and the box blade, I was taking the box blade off, and when I had a problem trying to get to one of the pins to remove the arms for the 3-point attachment, I went in and lifted up the 3-point, and unbeknownst to me, it was underneath the loader frame assembly for the backhoe, and managed to bend 3 of the 4 threaded bolts that are in the turnbuckles, and thinking, oh, that's not going to be that expensive, something that would be on hand. Found out it was almost $100 and some odd a piece for each of the ends, so almost $400 worth of damage just in those little pieces. So that kind of sucked, and I went ahead and ordered replacements for those, which I just got the other day. I just haven't had a chance to change them out. It would be nice if they were a little bit less expensive considering what they are. The only other issue I had was like hydraulic hoses, mainly on my attachments. You know, you're working on something, you get caught, you pinch it or whatever, and you just get a leak in the hydraulics. You know, replace the hose. You know, it's just nature of working around things that can catch on your grapples. Especially, I do a lot of tree removal, land clearing, that type of stuff, and that tends to do a good job of catching on something you don't want and causing a leak. On my backhoe, on the the thumb attachment, same thing. I was clearing out a whole bunch of orange trees that were dead and managed to catch one of the hoses and just loosen it up and start pissing hydraulic fluid. Luckily, that was just, you know, a wrench and a few seconds of downtime to get that back up and going. The one that did knock out the machine for a little bit longer had to do with the backhoe controls themselves. So one of the things I like and dislike is how they do the quick attach for the rear bucket. It's a great system for changing out between one bucket to another. It's just simply a pin here that you pull out, and it's got a retaining clip over here, which you can see I've got a whole bunch of wire on there to try to keep that from getting caught on something and pull out, because unfortunately many times you'll be digging, especially if you're doing roots and things like that, and this pin will get caught on something, and you'll look over and your whole pin that holds the bucket on will start coming out, and you have to find the pin, or in my case I just have a handful of extra ones, and replace it as you go. I've tried a couple different styles of pin. The factory one, which tends to work pretty good, it's $20 for the retaining clip. These are about $1 a piece, so although they tend to get caught a little bit more often, it's a 1/20th of the cost of the factory one, which tends to hold a little better. I'll probably try a couple different other options, including maybe just running a bolt through there with a nut or something like that, just to prevent that from coming loose on its own. That's really my only gripe. Now, part of why I mentioned that was the other day when I was tearing out the orange trees, I had that come out and I went to get off the back end, and you can see the machine's all covered in mud and so forth because of all the rain that we've been having. And as I was getting out of my seat and stepping down off the excavator, I managed to slip and hit the boom control right here and managed to hyperextend it to the point where it stopped working. And of course, my first thought is, oh crap, I broke something in the valve core or stem or something like that. So I ended up going immediately over to my Kubota dealer and ordering all the parts in that valve assembly just in case I needed it, because they didn't have any of them in stock, before I actually opened it up to work on and replace it, because I didn't want to take it all apart and have my hydraulic system potentially lose parts or get damaged. So I managed to get the part in, and just the little spring assembly with the cups alone was almost $200, not including the other stuff. The little miscellaneous parts were about $400 into the whole thing. Well, when I took it all apart, I found out that all that had happened is there was a single washer that was retaining the cup that holds the spring, and in the process of falling back, it sheared it off clean with the rod that comes up to actuate that control. So luckily, a trip to Ace for a 30-cent washer, just making sure it matched up the same as what was on there, and putting that all together in about a couple hours of disassembling that whole valve body just to get to that washer, and I was back up and working. So overall, not too bad. The one thing that did kind of suck is when I did go in to look for parts, their diagrams kind of suck. It wasn't quite clear exactly what parts were part of what assembly without taking it apart. It was really hard to tell what was actually going where. You know, once you get it apart and you look at it, you go, oh, okay, and that makes a little bit more sense. But just the initial kind of sucked as far as getting that all figured out. And what they listed, or what they inferred was listed in that assembly, looked like there was about twice as much parts as what actually came, so that was kind of disappointing. But luckily I didn't need those parts, so now I've got it in case I ever do, which hopefully will never be the case. Other than that, you know, I've got several hundred hours on this piece of equipment. Overall, it's been pretty good, still good. Haven't really noticed any real issues with it. It is a little top heavy when running the backhoe. That does kind of suck if I'm doing anything where I'm doing a lot of just mainly dirt work. It's almost always better to take that off and put the box blade on, even if I don't intend to use the box blade. If I'm not using the backhoe, it's just a more stable platform, not having that much weight all the way up at the top. I do have all the options with the exception of the quick disconnect for the hydraulic hoses for any attachments for a third function. But I do have the third function, which is, I would recommend that on any piece of equipment that you buy. That is very nice to be able to run grapples and other attachments. I've got boom attachments and so forth. You can look in some of my other videos that really make this machine very versatile by having all that. Other than that, I can't really say anything negative about it. The plastics and stuff, like I keep this inside for the most part, but the plastics are still starting to fade a little bit. That kind of sucks. You know, I kind of like keeping my stuff looking as new as possible. And same thing with the armrest. If you take a look at the armrest, like with just a few hundred hours and so forth, you can see like this one's all right. But you look at this one, you can see that it's already kind of wearing down a little bit. So I may upgrade this seat from the factory one to an air ride seat at some point. It is a little bouncy just because there's really no suspension. So at some point I might go through and change that out and get something a little nicer. The other thing I've gone through, and just hydraulic leaks in general, you know, there's places here and there that will leak a little bit. The valve body for the top and tilt kit, I have gone through, taken this apart multiple times, used hydraulic thread sealer, Teflon tape, and so forth to try to stop this leak in the back, and you can see it's yet to be solved. So that's one of those things that I've just kind of had to live with, because I haven't been able to figure out why it's leaking. And although it's kind of annoying to have to clean it up every now and again, it's not the end of the world. So that's kind of my take on the M62. It's not been too bad. It does need a little bit of a bath, and hopefully with the winter wrapping up here shortly, we can get rid of some of this mud and not have to do as much cleaning. If you have any questions or anything else I can help you with, feel free to let me know. I'll be more than happy to go over anything on this machine or any of the other equipment that I have, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you.